and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9. I'm Paul Kretschmer. In the wake of the events in the Middle East between the Israelis and Hamas in Gaza, we have spoken to former Shiloh, Israel Mayor David Rubin, who is in charge of the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund. He gives us his observations beginning today and continuing tomorrow about the situation as he sees it from his perspective in Israel.
I'm speaking with David Rubin. He has been a guest on this broadcast before several months ago about the situations as they evolve in Israel in the Middle East. Could you tell us, sir, what your observations are based on what has happened within the last month as a result of the Hamas attack?
Okay, well, let's be totally honest about it and totally complete in our answers. So what happened on October 7th was the worst massacre of Jews, and possibly the worst massacre of anyone since the Holocaust. We're talking about 1,400 people who were slaughtered. We're talking about thousands of others who were wounded, and we're talking about many thousands who were psychologically traumatized by that massacre. Now, of the 1,400 who were murdered, they weren't just killed. It wasn't just someone went in and shot them. We're talking about the most brutal massacre of people. We're talking about heads chopped off. We're talking about unborn babies being torn from the wombs of their mothers, ripped out from the wombs of their mothers. We're talking about the worst, the most horrific forms of torture that the world has ever seen. And so that's, I don't know, Paul, if you remember, but when I was on your show the last time, I think I spoke about the terror attack 20 years ago when my son and I were wounded by terrorists who ambushed our car, Islamic terrorists, and my son was shot in the head, I was shot in the leg. And so after that attack and after our recovery, I started the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund for the purpose of healing the trauma of the terror victim children. Now, 20 years later, after this massive massacre, the Ministry of Defense and many individuals have turned to us asking us to help their children. And that's why we have an emergency campaign right now. And I want to invite your listeners to go to israelchildren.org, israelchildren.org, and they can find out how they can partner with us, and they can donate to it if they so wish, and if they feel moved to do so. And I certainly hope they will, because we need all the help that we could get right now. And this assault on Israel and Israel's children and families is an assault that is really directed towards the rest of Western civilization. And if we don't finish off the job, if we don't respond in the correct and strong way, then it's all going to be coming to your doorstep as well.
Why do you believe people from across Europe and especially across North America seem to be so interested, students particularly, in conducting demonstrations on college campuses that seem to try to cast Palestinian or Muslim people as somehow the victims in this situation rather than the perpetrators of the assault in the first place?
Well, I think it says more about the protesters than it does about the facts on the ground. The facts on the ground are that there was the worst massacre in many years, and it was carried out by Islamic extremists. And so the people who had protested against Israel, not protesting against the Muslim extremists who carried out this attack, this horrible massacre, it says too much about them, about their ignorance. And in the case of, and when I talk about the ignorance, I'm talking about the far left, the left-wing protesters on they're just very, very misguided, and they're coming out with the most extreme slogans, the most extreme statements. I saw the vandalism outside the White House, and that's how that is unfortunately the way that Muslim extremists behave. And the curses against America, and it didn't surprise me one bit, because that is where the mindset is, that if you respond violently against everything to get what you want, then you're going to get it.
Given the tenor of the times, with wars going on in different places, including Ukraine as well as Israel right now, what should, in your opinion, Americans who are concerned about the state of Israel be doing right now in any number of different levels to support the state of Israel in its fight for its existence against that kind of evil that terrorism represents?
Well, there are several ways that Americans could be responding, and one of them, of course, is politically, to get the political leadership in the United States to stand behind Israel in this war. Just give Israel the free rein politically to go do what it has to do militarily in order to finally put an end to all of this terrorism that's afflicting Israel, and that really is afflicting the whole world. Now, let me say that, first of all. Secondly, I think that people should be acting at the grassroots level. What does that mean at the grassroots level? Well, I just told you about the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, how we use music and art and animals and equine therapy with horses, sports therapy, multisensory safe room therapy, horticulture therapy, to heal the trauma in terror victim children. And we, immediately after the massacre, we went to work. We got the call from the Defense Ministry saying that they are desperate for therapists, and we're trying to fill that need. Now, to do so, we have to expand our staff, and we really need the support of people around the world to help us. So that's why I keep repeating the website, which is israelchildren.org. That's the most meaningful way that people can stand with Israel at this time.
Here's some basic information about the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, established by former Shiloh Mayor David Rubin and Friends of Israel in the United States to support therapeutic, educational, and recreational projects for children in the biblical heartland of Israel, particularly in the Shiloh block of communities where the children have suffered terribly from the terrorism of the past few years. While the terrorists didn't succeed in killing David Rubin and his son Ruby in a tragic attack, they have murdered too many of their close friends and neighbors, some of whom were children. It's because of events like that that the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund was born, to build a brighter future for the children of Israel. The Shiloh Israel Children's Fund began in response to the long-term effects caused by Islamic terrorism, and is David Rubin's way of thanking God for saving him and his young son from the evil of terror. David strongly believes that when the world understands the historical and current facts about Shiloh, many will join him in helping the children in the biblical heartland. This firm belief has given him the strength to overcome his own personal trauma and to turn evil into good in his life and in the lives of others. That's directly quoted from the ShilohIsraelChildren's.org website. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049, or you can send email to office@wihsradio.org, office@wihsradio.org. David Rubin will return for another episode on the next WIHS Journal. Opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.